Loretta Glass, and you're listening to my True Crime Report. Today we have on Isabelle McFadden to tell us what's up with that Madeleine McCann Netflix documentary. Stay tuned. Welcome, Isabelle. You are everybody's favorite guest, so thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Roberta. How are you? And I'm glad to join you. I hear you have some really good questions for me today.
I have some fabulous questions, and questions that you didn't write me and send me. That's what I guess we've been accused of you of actually writing these episodes, which is great. So,
well, after all these multiple episodes, I finally came in to rescue you. Oh, wow.
No, yeah, well, you've been writing them since the beginning. In fact, my whole channel was created just for you. That was the plan. That has actually been theorized. I can't even believe it. What is this Madeleine McCann Netflix documentary about? Is it a serialized drama or is it a documentary?
Okay, so everybody's talking about this Netflix documentary. Okay, so of course, the first time we heard about this documentary, it was back in October of last year, and it was just as now. It was just an article that appeared that there was going to be a Netflix documentary, okay? And, of course, people started looking into it, and right away it started to sound very odd. One thing that the McCanns wanted people to know was that they're not involved. They have no wishes to be involved. And it was printed that not the McCanns or any big players, any of the players in this or their friends would be involved in this documentary, and they want nothing to do with it. Okay, so interestingly, people start to look and share information, and what do we find? We find that McCann's close friend, and he mentions it many times that he spends a lot of time with them. He spent a lot of time with them over the years. His name is Jim Gamble, and he's used to be, before he resigned, part of a child protection agency. The government didn't agree with him, and they felt like they didn't want a child protection agency to be a quango, and that's actually what Theresa May used to describe what the agency had become. So that ended up, he ended up resigning. But the interesting thing is, here we have the McCann in this article talking about they want nothing to do with the documentary, and then the first person we find mentioning the documentary is a close associate of theirs, who is a major player, and he's mentioned in the files and right from the beginning. So that's a lie.
Right, it all goes back to the McCanns, right?
Yeah, it goes right back to them. And basically it was an Irish newspaper who did an interview with him, and towards the end there's a question where they ask him, we understand that you are going to be in a Netflix documentary, blah, 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 which he confirms. So here we have friend number one.
Wow.
Then we have two authors, Summers and Swan, who once claimed that they were going to do an unbiased book on the McCanns. Before the book was even released, they sent out, which was odd to me, that, they had investigated the McCanns, they had looked at everything, and they believe, that, the McCanns have nothing to do with it, and that's what they were indicating before the book even came out. It turns out from a few people that I spoke with that they actually were closer to the McCanns than they seem to portray, and this is Summers and Swan. So as we are looking on for information on the Netflix, again, in one of their books that they had written about Madeleine, looking for Madeleine, in one of its promotional articles, it just said, the Summers and Swan will be participating in a Netflix documentary. And connection number two is made. So far, we have now two people that are close to the McCanns, and Summers and Swan have gone on to defend the McCanns, like no other. So, so they are major players. So even in the newspaper article where they say no big players or friends of the McCanns are involved in this, and here, without much search, we found two big names close to them.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so this is first how it came about, and now here we go again. Out of nowhere, they start mentioning the Netflix again. Now, there's somebody who has provided screenshots of emails of Netflix letting them know that this movie does not exist, that it wasn't made. So this doesn't say, that maybe this wasn't a project at some point, but as of October of last year, this has not been made.
Interesting.
And, yeah. And then I also have the documentary was supposed to be made by Pulse Films. Pulse Films is just, 35 minutes north of me over here in Venice Beach. And so I contacted them and spoke to a very nice gal, and I asked her about this Madeleine documentary, and she obviously goes and looks at their lineup, and she's like, what is it called? And it's a documentary, and she's searching for it, and she's like, I don't see anything. This is Pulse Films. Now, how many documentaries does Pulse Films do per year? I would say one or two. I mean, this is not something that you just, get up one day and make a documentary. You don't make, 30 of them a year. So obviously it would be somewhere in their database, in their information, right?
Right.
But nothing. So here's this gal at Pulse telling me, I don't see it. And I said, maybe your London office? And she goes, well, kind of all connected. And I said, well, I'll research for you. I called the next day, and she goes, I haven't found anything.
Exactly. And
I don't.
And we know from work, I know from working in film that if something has just been made or is in the process of being made, she should be getting calls. That should be burned in her brain. She should be hearing Madeleine 50 times a day. So yeah.
Yep. So nothing. So now there's rumors that, of course, it was never made, and then another newspaper wrote that it was being delayed, and then they, in their sources, no source at Pulse Films is ever made. It's just somebody close to Pulse Films. We're talking like this is Watergate. It's a documentary. So you mean, as you said, you being in the film industry, and me, I did so much extra work when I was a young student. Right. I know the industry.
Right.
It's not a mystery. It's like if you have something coming up, you should have your lineup. Who's your cast? Who's your director? And there's nothing.
Nothing. Interesting. And so, why aren't the McCanns participating, or why are they saying they're not participating?
Well, I think this is actually, it sounds like a defense mechanism to me. Like, we don't want to be any part of it, because if it's going to be biased towards them, people are going to say, oh, the McCanns aren't involved. So by getting ahead of the game and saying, we're involved, we don't want to be involved. It's just kind of, I don't know. There's been so many games played in this case with the parents that, and their lawsuits, and everything is, there's no black and white with the McCanns. Everything is some sort of a gray area. Their spokespeople are always friends, a friend. Why are you, if you're such a legitimate friend, why don't you mention your name? Why are you afraid?
Interesting.
What's wrong with saying who you are? Everything about it, like I said, this is not some big political campaign or a big secret where you can't mention names. If they have a friend, shouldn't their friend be proud of saying who they are? What a silly thing.
Right. And hasn't the story changed about how many episodes there are?
Yes, first there was 8, then there was 2, and now, like I said, I think there was an article saying that it's on hold. Now, there's something very interesting. The day that this Netflix news goes on, we have this amazing journalist, Mark Sonokonoko, forgive me. That's one of those tough names.
Yeah.
But Mark is with Channel News Australia, who has allowed him, of course, I'm sure there's tons of lawyers working on it, but it has given Mark quite a lot of freedom. And the 2 first episodes of this podcast have some amazing people in it. It has 2 retired Scotland Yard detectives who handled pretty large cases. It has profiler Pat Brown. It has the detective in Portugal. Kind of like the lineup of everything you would want.
Right.
It's not being mentioned about this Netflix game. I believe there was Moita Flores also involved in it. I mean, there was just all the people you would want.
Who really know about the case.
Are in it, including, this is why you feel it's unbiased, in the second episode, Mark interviews Jim Gamble, the McCann's friend, and allows him to say exactly what he wants.
Great.
And amazingly, in this podcast, Jim Gamble leaves for the first time. I've never heard him say anything like this. Leaves for the first time the possibility that maybe something could come up in the end. But right now he believes the McCanns are innocent, but leaves the door open. And he says, well, we don't know if something comes up later on that would incriminate the McCanns. I have never heard him say that.
Wow.
That is the first time I've actually ever heard Jim Gamble leave the door open for, not now, but who knows in the future. So I thought that was very interesting. And when I spoke to Mark about it, because I told Mark, just a few little things in my communications and stuff. And when I told Mark told me the same thing. He goes, I know. I was kind of shocked myself. We're like, oh, that is really interesting how he, for the first time, leaves the door open. So,
interesting.
So this is what I got for you on the Netflix thing. But it's, again, interesting that they bring out this news, just the same day or the day before. It was like within a day, within hours, of Mark bringing out this amazing podcast, which, by the way, has topped the charts for podcasts in Australia and internationally.
What is it called?
It's doing amazing.
What is it called again?
Oh my God, Mark's going to kill me. But it's Madeleine something. I will give you the link.
All right, I'll put it in the top of the comments. I'll link his podcast.
My brain is so
That's
fried.
okay. No, absolutely. You're talking to the queen of that. So
all these, yeah. So I mean, it's by Channel 9 News, and if you go on Twitter or Google it, it's really everywhere.
Right.
There's articles being written about it in Australia. People are really, and again, I mean, some big names participated in this. Mark really did an amazing job. And I know he was, I don't want to go into what he's working on because I don't know if he wants me to. But, so anyways, so that's where we are now.
Very interesting. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the McCanns, their lawyers. I mean, who is Carter Ruck, and how did they come to represent the McCanns?
Okay, very interesting. Carter Ruck. There's a few things that always struck me wrong, right from the beginning and even later, that takes me back in time. One of them was at Levinson inquiry. It was basically an inquiry into, and forgive me, sometimes I have some of my English names, wrong, because, that's kind of their news and, not our stuff. Sure. But basically, this inquiry was into press intrusion, okay? And the McCanns were really pushing for the media to be held accountable, okay? In people's lives and press intrusion, although, they were even asking, well, but you're the one kind of inviting the media into your home, so did you use the media for your own benefit? Okay, but in the inquiry, something just jumped out at me, where Jerry McCann says, well, Kate and I, we only started to sue and, use, libel, that was really our last resort. Last resort. Okay. Enters Carter Ruck. It was May 22nd. Carter Ruck, Adam Tudor, Carter Ruck, a lawyer for Carter Ruck, flies to Portugal with Jerry McCann and Clarence Mitchell, spokesman, who used to be a spokesperson for Prime Minister Gordon Brown. So here we have Madeleine is just barely missing, and
right,
just
you're
within
talking
the first week, same month.
Okay, yes.
And here they are, flying in. One of the most famous libel lawyers in the world is flying to Portugal with Jerry and Clarence Mitchell on the 22nd. So it's kind of a joke when Jerry tells us that suing people was the very last resort.
So,
because
just so the audience knows, Madeleine McCann went missing May 3rd, 2007, and you're saying they hired Carter Ruck May 27th, did you say?
22nd.
22,
okay, which
2007.
Carter Ruck flew to Portugal on May 22nd, which, it shows me they didn't just fly together on May 22nd, so the relationship had to already been in order.
Great point.
Correct?
Yeah, correct.
And the interesting thing, too, to me, I believe this was a sequence of events, because on the 16th of May, two doctor friends of the McCanns, the doctors Gaspar, go to Leicester Police and tell Leicester Police that they believe that one of Jerry McCann's friends and Jerry were having a sexual conversation regarding Madeleine. Mm-hmm. So they come and they make an accusation. They put it on record, and this is known as the Gaspar Statement, okay, that Jerry and Dr. David Payne, who are together in Portugal, very important, Dr. David Payne is the last person outside of the family to see Madeleine alive. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this was in the 6 o'clock hour. Okay, boom. Here you have this accusation, and then I believe it was on the 19th or 20th, Leicester Police have Clarence Mitchell and Jerry McCann come into the station and have a discussion with them. Okay, Clarence Mitchell is not a lawyer; he's a spokesperson. I don't know what kind of show they're running over in the UK, but I have never heard of a spokesperson being in on the police investigation. The spokesperson, that's PR. Police don't get involved with PR. They run away from PR. Why would a PR person be sitting in on meetings with Jerry McCann?
Interesting,
so, yeah, I really believe, this is just my opinion, I believe that at that time, that meeting was to give them the heads up that they had been accused of pedophilia, basically. A lot of people are afraid to say that, but, I look at it as they were accused of pedophilia. The way they were talking about Madeleine, that's basically what it was. And the Portuguese newspapers did not shy away from that. They did articles like, did the McCanns have a pedophile with them in Portugal because of this particular accusation? And it wasn't only one accusation. There is Yvonne Martin, who also did some sort of an accusation, remembered David Payne from a case that she was involved as a social worker that involved pedophilia. So I believe, and I'm not alone, that at that time, maybe the police was giving the heads up that this happened. And then, interestingly, just days later, they have Carter Ruck flying to Portugal.
Yeah, this is really
a libel lawyer.
Stuff.
When the Portuguese police at that time were doing intensive searches and had a complete, full-on investigation looking for the perpetrator And here we have a libel lawyer.
Right.
So, after that, starting that early, Carter Ruck went on to basically threaten to sue various people, like Pat Brown. It was Pamela, and then they asked for the PJ files to be taken offline. It was just so many people that were being, there's other names I don't want to, go over the list, but it's a large list.
What happens?
Of people who were threatened.
What is the PJ files? Just
okay.
For people who don't
know. The PJ files were in 2008. It is the law in Portugal that when you shelve a case, you have to give a reason why the case is shelved.
Mm-hmm.
This then becomes public, okay? It becomes public record. And anybody who is interested in the case in Portugal can go and access the PJ files. Now, because this was such a media frenzy, the police did something different. And I believe they have done this for other public cases in Portugal, because they don't want people disturbing the courts coming in, because you actually have to go in and request it and then, look through their computers and, download the files or copy the files. So, and this is like 11,000 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So what the Portuguese Ministério Público did at the time, which is Portuguese basically the courts, what they did to facilitate, because they knew there was just so many journalists from all over the world wanting to look at this file, they provided everything on a DVD
mm-hmm.
with, pictures and everything in the files that could be released. Now, there's a lot more. Not everything in the files got released, but 11,000 pages of material that you can go through, and it's readily available online. Then somebody translated the files into English and published them online. And basically, Carter got involved, and in the end, this was public record in Portugal, so it really, this is public record. There's nothing wrong with publishing the police files. I don't think it would even be possible to have these files taken down, because that's the law in Portugal.
So what happens when you're Carter Rucked? I've heard Pat Brown say I was Carter Rucked. What actually happens when you're Carter Rucked?
Well, they have such big claws that these cases never seem to go to trial. They are very threatening, and the people that have been part of that, like, for example, Pat Brown, it never goes to court. And they, like with Pat Brown, they went through Amazon. Well, Amazon doesn't want to go through court over the McCanns. They could give a, hoo-ha about the McCanns. So they're like, okay, well, you don't want us to publish the book? So Amazon, which was selling the book like hotcakes, takes down Pat Brown's book.
Right, and if you're not on Amazon,
I'm sure Pat Brown would love to be in a court with the McCanns. Oh, my God, she would destroy them. She would absolutely destroy them. She's a profiler and, always, often seen on CNN and Fox News and all the major networks. And so, she's just, she's quite well known. And she's, definitely on their roster of people to call when there are, criminal cases, where there's discussion. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you get a letter. So they send Amazon a letter, threatening.
Yes.
Threatening.
So everybody got letters. Everybody got letters. I personally, in the beginning, when I first did my video and my channel, which got millions of views, okay, I started to get threats. From the friends saying, you're going to be very surprised. I still have copies of all these tweets. You're going to be surprised one of these days. And then somebody's going to come to your door. And they were posting, pictures of my house. Even when I was selling my house, I was actually, a little bit nervous about it, because when they pulled you know how the realtors pull all of your information? There's actually requests for updates. You know how you can do that now? You can request updates on a house if it goes for sale or if something changes.
Okay.
There were actually notifications from the UK, which why would anybody in the UK care about my house? So, in a few instances, I've gotten a bit nervous. Over their intrusion into my own personal life. They mentioned my kids, they mentioned my education. Somebody attempted to pull my college records and just crazy stuff, But I'm really, I'm just a housewife, and that's how I like it. I've been asked by, Sonia Polton. I've been asked for quite a few people to do, participate in these documentaries, and I don't mind being the person in the seat behind the scenes, but I really do not want to be a big participant.
Yeah, you have the most interesting personality, Isabelle. You have you just bravely move forward. Very focused, and you have made contact with have so much information about so many elements of this case and the players involved, and have talked to so many different people.
Yeah. I have like a very clear goal, and my goal is that there's always truth, that there's always somebody questioning the McCann, so that when people, decide to take the time to read a little bit more into the case, they don't just have their version. I mean, I'm not alone, as you know, there are so many people, and now police officers who are becoming a little bit more brave to speak out against the McCanns, which before it was unheard of. So to have, ex-CIA and FBI and, retired Scotland Yard officers talking about the case, it's really new, and it's really, changing. Another thing is I did put in a call to Operation Grange, which is the operation that works on the Madeleine McCann case. Lovely people. I mean, I spoke to this gentleman who was just very kind, and he was just explaining to me that all of these stories in the media do not come from them, that they're not talking about the case. They are not, because we've stopped commenting on the case quite a long time ago. And so if you hear about new suspects and this and that, because it's not coming from us, because we're not talking about it.
So who can we speculate it might be coming from, perhaps, going on the theme of the day, if it's not coming from Scotland Yard?
Who would be the only people interested in disruption?
Exactly.
It would normally be the guilty people, right?
Exactly. Who's interested
right?
in...
I mean, that's how I look at it. There's nobody else. It's not in the interest of anyone else to disturb the way the case is portrayed.
Mm-hmm. It's a really great point.
Usually it's the guilty that have to confuse and defend and spin. Look, we have Jesse Smollett. My God, Jesse Smollett is like, or Smollett, whatever his name is.
We all know who you're talking about.
He's like the McCanns reincarnated. I mean, the spin, how he turned it on. Oh my God, I'm such a victim and they hit me. And, and you're just watching this complete acting job and going, oh God, where have I seen this before?
Right.
And he had tears and everything, which the McCanns have never had tears. He did a better job, but he is a professional actor. So.
True. And I read the first two lines of what, when the story first broke, and I knew it was a hoax, that just no one goes out to put just a noose around someone's neck and identify themselves as Trump supporters. It just doesn't happen, if your BS meter doesn't go off, I don't know, I worry for you,
But Roberta, just ask, children being abducted from a window, a tiny little window, without leaving a trace, is also kind of a very far-fetched. It's like one in a million. Jerry McKinnon has said it before. It's 1 in a million, but it happened to them. Even though they say they were checking, we don't. for example, Kate McCann says that, now she feels like they were being watched because Madeleine looked so pretty, and it was because her outfit was so darling.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. That in itself is, whew.
Narcissism, yeah. Everybody's looking
but
at us.
It's like,
yeah.
wait a minute. If somebody was watching you, that means they didn't know when you would come and check on her. So how would that happen? How would they feel so free? Because you say you guys were all up and about, back and forth checking on the kids. How would this person who has been watching you know that you weren't going to get up from the table and come and check?
Yeah,
when there were so many moving parts. But all of these things, it's great. I really love Mark's podcast because he starts from the very beginning in a very detailed, methodical way. So I'm very, very excited for Mark, and I will just promote that to the end, just as there were such great elements with Sonia Poulton in her short documentary, So, yeah.
Yeah, that's on YouTube, too. And so in 2017, Katie Hopkins wrote in the Daily Mail that they would never find Maddie and that everyone was afraid to speak. Now,
yes.
What was the reaction to that article?
Well, the first thing people do is destroy her. I still don't understand British politics and all their moving parts. So, I know that they have, conservatives and Tories and, you hear all these names, but it's really not my thing. But I understand that she's a conservative,
yes.
Okay? And so she has some views that people on the left obviously don't agree with, okay? Mm-hmm. One thing that I saw was a lot of people saying, God, I hate Katie Hopkins and I hate her views. Obviously people that are politically not inclined to like her stuff, but saying that I agree with her on this.
Mm-hmm. She's also
and
very
that was
blunt,
amazing, that people were willing to cross party lines
yes.
to say, yeah, the McCanns are liars, So I thought that was just amazing.
So there was sort of like a recognition. It's like, I'm happy she said it, thank God she's brave enough to say it.
Yes.
Because in the UK, what I understand is their slander laws are quite broader than the U.S. Is that true?
Yeah, it's very, very different. Well, I didn't understand at first. People were like, oh, aren't you afraid of being sued? And I was like, sued for what? For having an opinion? That's absurd. Never heard of anything like that. I thought it didn't even hit me, And then, my husband, as in our immediate family, we have 3 lawyers, all in the same family. And one thing that they told me was, as a private citizen having an opinion, good luck with libel laws because you're just expressing your opinion. And they did tell me if you do start to do anything commercially, you do have more responsibility. And this is kind of why I just don't have, my husband and I, we have worked hard, so we have things, and so we, I would never put my family at risk, so I prefer, like I said, this is not for me. This is for the public. I am Portuguese. That's where my allegiance lies with Amaral, with Madeleine, in Portugal, because they just, Portugal is now the second safest country in the world. That's how safe we are. This is what an amazing little country Portugal is. And financially, we've done quite well out of austerity, and I'm just very, very proud of being Portuguese. And they just destroyed those people. Not only did they take their money, my aunts, I think everybody in my family donated money to the McCanns.
Wow.
Everybody. People were just, you know how much money they made in Portugal? It was like they had buckets of money. Buckets with Madeleine's picture, and actually Kate, she was so distraught, because you can tell it's her writing. We're very familiar with Kate's writing now. She was so distraught that she was writing notes and putting them on buckets that were delivered all around Praia da Luz to collect money for people to put money in.
Notes like, please help us? You mean notes like that? Kate McCann was writing notes like, please help us, please donate if you can, those kind of notes?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
in beach buckets, like kids stick to the beach. It was very themey, very themey. And then the ribbons in the hair, and they were charging people for bracelets, and people were just donating, and everything became, commercial. And then they trademarked Madeleine within days, which that's another odd thing. And I mean, it became a business. Looking for Madeleine became a business. That's what it became, And it was later not accepted as a charity, because usually a charity, it has to, in the UK, has to really be donating to many causes. But because this was just for Madeleine, the money was for Madeleine's family. It even says it. You are donating money to help Madeleine's family. So you're helping two doctors. And this is where, to me, it was unbelievable. Like my aunt, who's worked all her life. I have, aunt and uncle, just lovely people who have worked very hard, and they probably have the least money in our family. And my aunt had told me how she donated a decent amount to the Madeleine Fund.
Wow.
So they're taking from people who actually need it.
Of course.
And, and, retired folks, really, because my aunt and uncle are retired by then already. And, and so, and then came back to destroy the town and just, and come up with all these stories of, these really horrible people, roaming around town, and just made it sound like Portugal is this criminal country, dangerous country, when in fact it's the second safest country in the world.
So what is your reading on the public's temperature on this, on the official abduction story? Are people buying it? And is there anyone who still believes the McCanns?
Yes, we run polls, and the polls always come up with 95% of the people believe the McCanns are lying. And, it's not just my polls, it's polls everywhere. Nobody believes their story. Now, it's very true that not everybody thinks that they were involved in the death. Some people do believe, because they don't know much. They just believe that the McCanns are lying, like something is wrong, and they don't know what,
Mm-hmm.
But there's also very extreme views, that they were stolen by the possessive brothers, which you and I debunked that before,
Mm-hmm.
So they're and that the McCanns were, pedophiles and part of a ring of people out of Ireland. I mean, it's like, I don't believe any of that. I mean, you don't even want to go there,
Right.
Which is, again, very interesting that the McCanns, there are people really out there talking about them as being child traffickers, and they never attack these people. They attack people that have a view like mine, who thinks something happened there, maybe a possible accident, and, and then their lives would be destroyed, and they needed to fix that. And the only way that they have to save their other two children would be, to do what I believe they did. So, yeah.
So, and the McCanns have really attacked anyone who doesn't believe them. I mean, who was Brenda Leyland, and what happened to her?
So Brenda Leyland was this wonderful lady. Her and I corresponded a couple times just because her son lives very close to me, like he lives within 15, 20 minutes of my house. Mm-hmm. And so Brenda had told me, that she believed that one of the people on McCann, that would talk about the case was actually somebody close, was actually a witness in the case, somebody close to the McCanns. Mm-hmm. And she really believed that. She also, told me, I told her, God, these people are so crazy and they're publishing my stuff. And she said to me, well, not on the phone, but in a message, she mentioned to me, you don't have to worry about a thing because you're in the United States, and the United States works completely different. You're completely safe. She goes, and she basically told me, I would love to see you when I come and see my son. And so we mentioned that, a few times, but she was very lovely and very polite. Her language was very mild. I mean, I personally, and they would twist things, because people say something, it's like, oh, you are being horrible about the parents. Like one time, there was this, people were talking about people in prison, and then somebody started joking about the Teletubbies. Right. And somebody had posted a picture of a Teletubby with a, not a hammer, but like a soft hammer toy type of thing. And they were talking about them beating the prisoners or something, and I said, oh, they should beat Kate. Of course, meaning the Teletubbies with this soft toy.
Right.
Of course, it was a joke. And then they isolated this tweet that said they should beat Kate.
Right.
And then, of course, everybody with a mind was like, well, who's they? Who's they? Who's going to beat Kate? So obviously a joke. So they did that. They did Brenda, too. Take things that she said out of context.
Right. Okay. So,
well, no, Brenda, as we were, discussing.
Right.
So Brenda was this lovely woman. And
she was accused
financially
of
comfortable. Financially comfortable, had a son who lives here in Los Angeles, and she lived close to the McCanns, and she was identified. Now, we came to find out from messages going back even a year that they were targeting her. They even posted a tweet about, how would you like us to post, pictures of your house? Which, of course, we believe they had it, because they had pictures of my house, which they posted many, many times. They post to many people's houses. There's this one woman, Maria Laverty, who was calling people's employers. There's people on Twitter that are like, why are you calling my employer? This is how nuts these people are in the defense of. This is why we believe, they have to be paid. How else? Why else would they do anything like this? But Brenda was then stalked by a journalist and encouraged by Jerry McCann. He said that she should be made, that these people should be made examples out of. Anyways, she was put basically on this Sky News broadcast and just rotating every hour, calling her a troll. Just horrible. I was like, they would never get away with that in the U.S. I mean, talk about libel.
Right.
In the U.S., at least our media would never do something so disgusting. I've never seen anything like that. And so basically she ended up taking her life in a hotel. And, leaving lots of questions. A lot of people feel like, like my first question is, she has the money. She has her son here. She could have just flown to the U.S. where nobody was talking about this, nor did anybody care, and been safe for a while and just kind of disappear and let it be. That didn't happen. So, I can't speculate, but it was definitely just a very sad loss. And, yeah.
So this has really
I also felt Martin Brunn never really felt that bad about it. I think he wanted to save his own skin, in the end. He was very highly criticized, but he's back on Sky News. This woman killed herself because of him, or so we think that she killed herself, but, we can't prove otherwise. That's, I'm okay with believing that. And, he's really not ever shown, much remorse.
Okay. So Isabelle McFadden, thank you so much for your time, your insights, your knowledge, and all the work that you've done to bring the truth out about this case.
You're welcome, and there's so much more, so you and I can just keep going.
I love that, and I know my audience would love that, so thanks again.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Roberta.